I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the
of
United
the
States of America,
and to the republic
republic
for which
which
it
it
stands,
stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with
with
liberty and
liberty
justice
and
for all.
justice for all. All right, I will read our pandemic statement. Good evening. We greatly appreciate our staff, council, and residents adapting to our teleconference format due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Tonight's meeting will be held under Minnesota State Statute 13D.021 that permits a public body to hold a meeting via telephone or electronic means due to the COVID-19 pandemic. For members of the public, the meeting is being live streamed on the City of Wyoming YouTube page. The Wyoming City Council meeting will be recorded as part of the public record. After each agenda item is read and staff gives a report on the agenda item, I will call upon each council member individually if they have questions on that particular item. If you wish to make a motion or second a motion, please state your name first. All votes on all items will be completed by a roll call to meet the standards for the state statute 13D-021. Thank you. With that, Mr. Linwood, do we have anybody for open forum?
Mayor, we do not have anyone for open forum tonight.
All right, we'll move to agenda item number 1. Consider approving the minutes of the special joint meeting of the Comfort Lake Forest Lake Watershed District and the City of Wyoming for August 18th, 2020. If there are no comments, questions, or additions, can we have a motion to approve?
Member Schilling, so moved.
Member Schilling makes the motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Member Lugar will second.
Member Lugar will make a second. You guys, I'm going to turn up my volume. Okay, so Member Lugar makes that second. Roll call, please. Member Schilling.
Aye.
Member Lugar.
Aye.
Member Zerwas.
Aye.
Member Yeager.
Aye.
Motion passes. Number 2, consider approving the minutes of the, Mayor Iverson was an aye, sorry. Number 2, council, consider approving the minutes of the regular meeting of the Wyoming, Minnesota City Council for September 1st, 2020. If there are no comments, questions, or additions, can we have a motion to approve?
Member Zerwas moves to approve.
Member Zerwas makes the first motion. Do we have a second?
Member Lugar will second.
Member Lugar makes the second. Roll call, please. Member Schilling.
Aye.
Member Lugar.
Aye.
Member Zerwas.
Aye.
Member Yeager.
Aye.
Mayor Iverson is an aye. It does pass. Number 3, consider approving the minutes of the special meeting of the Wyoming, Minnesota City Council for September 9th, 2020. If there are no comments, questions, or additions, can we have a motion to approve?
So moved, Member Zerwas.
Member Zerwas makes the motion. Do we have a second?
Member Lugar will second.
Member Lugar makes a second. Member Schilling. Member Lugar.
Aye.
Member Zerwas.
Aye.
Member Yeager.
Aye.
And Mayor Iverson is an aye, and it sure does help when everybody participates when it comes to making motions. All right, we are going to move to the consent agenda 4, 5, and 6. Does anybody wish to pull anything from the consent agenda for further discussion? All right, if not, we need a motion to approve.
Member Schilling, so moved.
Member Schilling makes the first motion. Do we have a second?
Member Lugar will second.
Member Lugar makes a second. Member Schilling.
Aye.
Member Lugar.
Aye.
Member Zerwas.
Aye.
Member Yeager.
Aye.
All right, Mayor Iverson says aye. Again, it helps when we all participate when we make motions. All right, number 7 is, we're going to move on to reports, boards of commission and department heads. 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 for reports. Does anybody wish to pull a report for further discussion? Seeing nothing on that, I'll move on to number 12 on the agenda. To consider a resolution 20-09-76, a resolution approving a preliminary tax levy for 2021 and setting a public hearing for the truth and taxation at the December 1st, 2020 Wyoming City Council meeting. Mr. Linwood, are you starting or is Ms. Lynch?
I'll start, Mayor. Mayor, members of council, this is our a statutory item that we have tonight. This is our preliminary or do not exceed levy that we need to submit to the county by September 30th of 2020. The levy the budget that is proposed to the council tonight, this is not our final levy. This is our do not exceed, and we'll continue to work on this. The council started the budget process with some of our goal session with the council, and since then we've had 4 separate budget work sessions to discuss this budget and go over these items. So with that, I'll let Ms. Lynch start just going through the summation of the budget as it is presented tonight for that do not exceed.
Is everyone able to see the tax levy summary?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so tonight we are proposing the 2021 tax levy at $4,451,308. That is a $212,000 increase, or 5.02% from 2020. There is multiple parts to this levy. The biggest factor relating to that increase is within the debt levy. The 2020 ACO bonds were issued this year in order to fund the 2020 street project. Principal and interest payments will need to be made in 2021 on those bonds, thus the need for the tax levy addition in 2021. Other parts of the levy, the general levy, so that supports the city's general fund, or the main operating fund of the city. That is proposed to increase $107,000, or 3.33%. There's 2 main factors to that. The first one being staffing. There is one position, a promotion of one current position to a lead maintenance position in Public Works, and that is allocated 55% to the general fund. So that's just a promotion of a current employee. Again, only 55% is supported by that levy. The rest of that employee is supported by enterprise funds. There's also a crime analyst in the police department that will be promoted from part-time to full-time in July of 2021. That will be funded by the general fund. Along with those staffing, all employees will receive a cost of living increase, and then any eligible employees will also receive a step increase if they are eligible. Other than that, some of the other increases within the general fund are mainly due to insurance premiums. So the city has workers' compensation as well as a property and liability insurance. Those premiums did increase for 2021, and those are allocated throughout the general fund departments. So those are really those main drivers for that 3% increase in the general fund. Other than that, kind of offsetting that general fund increase is the capital levy, mostly within capital equipment. Capital equipment, no matter what department it's for in the city, so fire, police, public works, is all now purchased out of Fund 401. In the CIP plan, we've taken a look out 5 years and how that fund, we anticipate it to function. We've taken into account reserves as well as other revenues in that fund. So that fund also receives local government aid, and we have determined $170,000 is needed as a tax levy to help support that fund in 2021. It's also important to not just look at that total levy, the 4.4 million, but also, how is that levy going to affect properties within the city? So in order to calculate the city's tax rate, you'd want to take that total levy divided by the total tax capacity, so the 10.2 million. The tax capacity is provided by Chisago County, and it has increased 5.66% from 2020. With that, the levy that is presented right now, again, the do not exceed, is resulting in a city tax rate of 43.31%, which is a decrease of 0.27% from 2020. And I would be happy to take questions at this time.
Great. I have a couple questions, Ms. Lynch. It's Mayor Iverson. First of all, I have a question for Mr. Linwood. Mr. Linwood, this information came to council in our council packets, all of this information, about 4:45 on Friday, correct?
Approximately, I believe that's when Ms. Dumas sent the council pack out to the council members.
Okay, and what time does offices close? 4:30?
That's correct.
Okay, so this information is really important because if the residents wanted to see this information, they wouldn't have been able to until Monday, correct? To call and get this information?
They'd have to call and request a packet, correct? Yep, that would be right. They'd have to do it during office hours.
Okay, perfect. So Ms. Lynch, I have a couple of questions with this because some of this information got out, which is fine because it's public, but a lot of the understanding wasn't there. So hopefully you can help with this. So first of all, I'd like to know about how much did the insurance go up for work comp and other health insurance?
Yes, so workers' comp increased about $15,000, and then the property and liability insurance increased about $9,000.
Okay.
Yep, and that is spread across departments in the general fund.
Perfect. And we really don't have any control as a council for when those come in, correct? That's not something we control.
Correct.
Okay, and then can you give a brief, just a brief meeting of tax capacity? Because I think that's something that's very hard for people to understand what that is. And again, is that something that city, so as a council, that we're able to set, or does somebody else or some other entity sets that?
Yeah, that's a great question, Mayor. So the tax capacity comes directly from the auditor treasurer at Chisago County. So this is directly a number that is from the county. So the council has no bearing on this number. This is determined by the county and their total valuation kind of the city. So it's important to remember that we need the tax capacity to calculate the tax rate, although the city council really only has direction over the total tax levy that is approved and not the tax capacity that we just get from the county.
Okay, and just a couple more questions. So we talked about that lead position in maintenance. And the reason why, if I remember correctly, Mr. Linwood, the reason why we're doing this is because we're now part of an MS4, correct? And so we need some additional, what do I want to say, responsibilities for this type of position.
The two positions, the promotion within the Public Works Department, and I can let Mr. Almgeld fill in on this too, but largely due to those water and sewer activities, to have a lead position in that role to help with many of those activities. The maintenance worker addition is largely based on that MS4 permit that we've had numerous conversations with the city council in regards to the activities that need to be completed along with that permit. And that position would largely be doing those to handle that, to make sure that we stay within compliance of that permit. Because if we don't stay in compliance with it, the city could be looking at potentially being a fine down the line if we were not to stay within the scope of that permit.
Okay, and then Ms. Lynch, can you briefly describe what an enterprise fund is? Because part of that is through the levy and the other part is through an enterprise fund. And maybe people don't quite understand, our residents quite understand what that is.
Yes. So there is a couple positions under staffing. So if I just kind of go down the memo. So the first one we talk about is a new full-time maintenance employee is budgeted and allocated equally to water, sewer, and surface water. So water, sewer, and surface water are the enterprise funds of the city. The enterprise funds operate differently than the general fund or other governmental funds. Enterprise funds are not supported by a tax levy. They're fully funded by user fees. So those are funded right by water and sewer rates, connection fees. So when we talk about those positions, if there's any part of them that is not allocated to the general fund, it's not affecting the tax levy that we are asking you to approve tonight.
Okay, perfect. And then I don't know, do you have that? Can you scroll somewhere and see there? You had a chart in our packet that shows the tax capacity. And I know that sometimes that's hard to understand and that doesn't always get out into the public, to our residents, to really show that example of how that has gone down. Yep, that one.
Yes, yes. Yeah, so this shows the city's tax rate historical. So 2021 is what we're proposing right now. Goes back all the way to 2016. So you can see that, the city has made great strides since 2016 in reducing that tax rate that was previously at 57.14%.
All right, thank you. I think that is all my questions. I will go around the room and see if anybody else should have questions. I really appreciate the answers to the questions. Member Schilling.
I have no questions, Madam Mayor.
Right, Member Luker.
I have no questions. I also appreciate the information and answers.
Member Yeager.
I am concerned about the amount of the increase. I am concerned with that we're in a recession caused by a pandemic, and that people might have trouble paying their property tax.
What
And
recession?
And well, that's what I've been reading in the paper. And I'm concerned that, what do we tell our taxpayers? What do we ask our taxpayers to cut from their own budget so that we can afford this levy, or that they can afford to pay this levy? So that's basically my concerns. Thank you, Ms. Lynch, for the question, answering the question so well.
Member Yeager, can I just ask, we've had these discussions and you haven't answered before in the budget meetings. What would you think would be beneficial to cut given the concerns that you have in this budget that we've been talking about?
Well, I think we can look when we do our contract negotiations, keep it more in line with the CPI and what the Social Security increases are. I think we need to look at, well, that would be one. You've already cut the park stuff out, the park levy out. I'm wondering where else in that tree fund can come down a little. Separating upper management raises from contract negotiations. Give me time, I'll come up with more.
Okay, I appreciate those answers. That's the first time we've heard those. All right, and so Member Zerwas.
I have no questions.
Awesome. All right, so seeing that there are no further questions, we need a motion to approve Resolution 20-09-76, a resolution approving a preliminary tax levy for 2021 and setting a public hearing for truth and taxation at the December 1st, 2020 Wyoming City Council meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Member Zerwas.
We have the first motion by Member Zerwas. Do we have a second?
Member Schilling, second.
Member Schilling is a second. All right, we will roll call vote, please. Member Yeager.
Yay.
Member Zerwas.
Aye.
Member Luker.
Aye.
Member Schilling.
Aye.
And Mayor Iverson is a strong aye on that. We're going to move to number 13 to consider approval to the Wyoming Police Department to begin a selection process to establish an eligibility list for a new police officer for a current vacancy. And I believe Chief Hoppy will be discussing this one to start.
Correct. Madam Mayor and the council, the police department is currently looking to develop an eligibility list with the intent to fill a vacancy in the police department. We currently have 10 licensed officers in the department, but we're down to 9, so we're looking to fill that one vacancy. We're looking at a starting rate of $28.92 an hour, which is contracted under the LES union as far as starting wages. The position is currently budgeted in both 20 and 21, so we'd be looking to start that process with the intent to hire hopefully by the end of the year to replace that vacancy. I'll stand for any questions.
All right, I will go around the room for questions. Member Yeager.
No questions.
Member Zerwas.
No questions.
Member Luker.
No questions.
And Member Schilling.
No questions.
And again, I just want to iterate or ask another question with this, Chief Hoppy. This is to actually replace. It's not adding on to our police department or adding on an officer, correct?
Correct. This is not an add-on. This is to fill a current vacancy within the department to maintain our current staffing levels.
And how many staff, do we have 10 officers?
We have 10 officers, 1 administrative records person, and 1 part-time crime analyst.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we need a motion to approve the selection process to establish an eligibility list for a new police officer for a current vacancy. Do we have a motion to approve?
Member Schilling, so moved.
All right, Member Schilling makes the first motion. Do I have a second?
Member Luger will second.
Second by Member Luger. Roll call, please. Member Yeager,
Aye.
Member Zerwas,
Aye.
Member Luger,
Aye.
Member Schilling.
Aye.
Very nice to have a 5-0 vote on this. I think it's the first time since I've been mayor we've had a 5-0. So very proud of the fact that we get to do that. So thank you. To consider resolution 20-09-77, a resolution authorizing the purchase of a computer for the Wyoming City Council from Apple in the amount of $7,240. Ms. Dumas, are you taking this one for us?
I am. Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, members of council, starting in March of 2020, the city has been utilizing digital meeting materials for our city council and boards and commissions due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And we have identified significant cost savings in both printing costs and staff time due to this transition. And because of that, staff has recommended the continuation of virtual meeting materials for the city council moving forward. In order to facilitate this, we are proposing that the council purchase iPad Pros for use by city council members utilizing CARES Act funding that is currently available to fund adaptations to city operations in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. In addition, the savings that we have identified in printing costs, we are planning to use moving forward as a replacement cost. So the implementation of council digital tools will not result in an increased cost to the city moving forward, and will also result in a decrease in staff time, as well as a reduction in paper use and waste for the city. And with that, I will open up to questions.
So I'll start. Ms. Dumas, where did you get the amount for each iPad, and what is included on each one?
Yeah, thank you. The quote that is provided in the city council packet is from Apple Corporate, and it is a quote that includes a government discount for local and state governments. And there is a notice that there may be additional opportunities for local discounts based on what individual retailers can offer. This is the do not exceed number that is provided from Apple Corporate. In the quote, it includes the Apple iPad Pro device, as well as an Apple Pencil and a keyboard that will allow the City Council to fully utilize the abilities of the device.
Is it one pencil? I've never used an iPad from Apple. So is it one pencil? Can you describe that just a little bit more? Does it wear out?
So it is it's not a regular pencil. It's an electronic device, and each city council member would receive one along with their device. And it is good for the lifetime of the device.
Okay, perfect. And I'm assuming that you actually got all this pricing from the government pricing before you sent this packet out and put it in the packet, right? So right. You did your due diligence by actually looking at the government pricing, which is pretty much everything we always do look at first, right?
Correct. This was received from Apple to include the government pricing discount.
Perfect. I appreciate that due diligence on that, but I know that the city always does look at those contracts first and what we get for government. So I will go around the room and ask if there are any further questions. So Member Yeager, do you have any further questions?
Oh, yeah. How would training be for on these iPads be handled? Will we have to go to a vendor or will it be online?
City staff will be managing the devices and providing training for council members on use of the devices.
Okay, well, will we have to come in for that, or we do this on the phone, or you're going to have a class?
The specifics of how that how that's going to happen has not been completely fleshed out. However, there are capabilities to do that training remotely, especially with the city's tools that we've adapted, Zoom, as well as other materials for adapting to COVID times. We do have the ability to do remote training on a lot of electronic devices.
Okay. How will technical support be handled if something goes wrong with the iPads?
City staff will be the technical support for the devices.
Okay. How will the packets be sent? Are they going to be emailed through Outlook again?
The city is currently in the process of evaluating different agenda management software. If the city council decides that they want to include that in addition to the devices themselves, that would be a future conversation. This is specifically just for the purchase of the devices, which could accommodate either an agenda management software or continue to utilize the current PDF format that the council materials are currently distributed in.
Okay. Okay. And then can I copy files off the iPad to my Windows 10 computer and vice versa?
I'm not totally sure what you mean by copy. You can send files between computers, whether it's an Apple device or a Microsoft device.
Oh, I was thinking more if there was a section that I wanted to keep. Can I get it off the iPad and put it onto my other computer so I could refer to it later?
You can share files between devices. However, the city's device use policy recommends keeping separation between personal devices and city devices to help make sure that the city is in compliance with all data practices requests and can effectively limit any unnecessary intrusion into personal devices to respond to data practices requests.
Okay, that answers the next question on there. Will the Apple Device Manager be installed on the iPad?
I do not know that the specifics of that tool, but city staff is looking into how best to do the management of the devices.
Okay. Will the iPad interface with my printer so I can print pages off?
Yes.
Oh, cool. And then will public packets still continue to be printed when physical meetings resume? Or is there going to be a link for the electronic packet? What?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? It broke up a little bit.
Oh, yeah, something weird sounded. Will public packets continue to be printed when physical meetings resume?
That is a decision for the city council to decide upon the return of in-person meetings.
Well, that wasn't quite what I was asking. I would assume eventually physical meetings would resume. Would you continue to print packets, or will residents have to bring in their own laptops to get to use the electronic link to see the packet?
We absolutely can print a packet if that is what the city council wants to happen. That's for the city council to determine how you want to implement that policy.
Okay. And then once the pandemic emergency is over, will all boards and commissions go to electronic packets?
We do not have an answer for that at this time. Currently, this proposal is just for the city council.
Okay.
And I think our Park Advisory Commission and our EDA are already electronic, about 95%, and our Planning Commission has been electronic with this change. So that's something for just the council's information, as Ms. Dumas stated, what you determine how you'd like to proceed on that as the council forms policy on that.
Well, yeah, because if everybody's electronic, I was curious if the commissioners would be expected to bring their own laptops to their meetings. Because with the prices, it looks like giving every commissioner an iPad like this might be prohibitive.
Unless that's something the city council is interested in purchasing those pads for other commissions or boards. Right now, that's not what we have on the table. It's just strictly for city council. And those members that we've been sending those electronically to probably for the last 2 years, they do usually bring their own electronic devices or print it out on their own.
Okay. Because I was thinking if commissioners can bring their own devices, why can't council members?
I think there's a bit more robustness in regards to how the activities that a council member is doing comparative to a commission member. This is a normalcy you're seeing in most cities where they're utilizing these electronic devices to conduct a lot of their different business. And then those council members even bring those pads to their council meetings when there is normal session in place. So I think this is more of a, as Ms. Dumas had stated, in regards to paper to staff time, the assembling of that data, and then eventually with hopefully some agenda management software, that this really is what you're seeing, the use of technology to try to streamline these processes.
Okay. I just, given the price and given the savings, because when I looked up the iPad, apparently the usual lifespan's about 4 years, 3 months. Given the savings, I'm not totally comfortable with doing this for council.
So you bring up a good point, Member Yeager. So your point to that 4 years in whatever time frame, I'm gonna guess that that's probably for a heavier user, daily use, hourly use, over and over and over again, right? Similar to what we would do with our regular laptops. So I don't know, and I could be wrong, but I don't really know, given the fact that we're not gonna use them every single day, hours at a time. I'm gonna really hope Apple has a better product than that one. We'll be able to use them longer. I'm gonna move on to Member Zerwas.
No questions.
All right, and Member Luker.
The questions that I have, I feel like were answered. They mainly were about kind of the long-term use of these in terms of investing in a more technologically savvy and efficient way that we would be having meetings and getting materials. And I just wanted to ensure that ideally, once we return to in-person meetings, that these would continue to be utilized, and these would kind of be this would be what we would gravitate for on a continual basis post-pandemic.
Yes, the understanding in this proposal is that there would be a continuation of digital meeting materials after in-person meetings have resumed.
All right, Member Schilling.
I have no questions.
Okay, and I think too, what is a great benefit of this, before COVID, we were actually streaming live, and all of our residents were able to see all of us at one time, right? So that was a real benefit to be able to see gestures and facial expressions. And I always feel it's kind of sad that there are 2 of our members that actually are not able to participate in the same way. So I know that this kind of puts everybody on the same playing field and puts us right back to the streaming that we were doing, that residents are going to be able to see all of us. So I really think that this is something that's beneficial for our residents. And it's also, we wouldn't be going to these if we didn't have COVID, right? And if we didn't have the CARE Act money, which is what the government has given us funds for, to make sure that we can continue to do our business in an efficient way. So I actually think it's really something that is beneficial to our residents, something that's not coming out of our budget, and just really puts everybody out there and seeing actually what we're doing and being transparent. So with that, we do need a motion to approve Resolution 20-09-77, a resolution authorizing the purchase of computers for the Wyoming City Council from Apple in the amount of $7,240. Do we have a motion to approve?
Member Schilling, so moved.
Member Schilling makes the first motion, and I will make the second. We will do roll call, please. Member Yeager.
Nay.
Member Zerwas,
Aye.
Member Luker,
Aye.
Member Schilling,
Aye.
and Mayor Iverson is an aye. It does pass, and I'm excited that we're all going to be on camera together. I think that'll be a good call. So, all right, number 15, to consider resolution 20-09-78, a resolution authorizing the purchase of computers for Wyoming city staff from CW Technology in the amount of $27,214. Ms. Dumas, are you taking this one or Mr. Linwood?
I am taking this one. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank
Mayor,
you.
members of council, as a part of the city's response to COVID-19, we have implemented a schedule differential for our staff, where some staff are working from home, some staff are working in the office, so that we can ensure proper distancing and reduce contact between staff in the case that there was a potential exposure. Because of that, we have had to result in staff utilizing personal devices for city business to accommodate that emergency distancing protocol. The city's proposal here is to purchase Surface Pros that will allow staff to have a device that they can use in the office as well as at home, and reduce any liability that we just spoke about of utilizing a personal device for city business. That separation is a part of our city's current device use policy, and this action would align the city with our current policy. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
All right, I have a question with this. So security is very important, right? And it seems like it's more important on laptops that we use a secure, is it a VPN?
Correct.
Is that what you call it, VPN? And so that technology is way more secure than if somebody was using their personal computer at home, because we didn't have any laptops for them. And it, we want to make sure we're giving our employees the tools to make sure that the city is running efficiently and effectively.
Correct.
Okay, that's all my questions. Member Yeager.
No questions.
All right, Member Zerwas.
Where are the funds coming for those computers?
These will be funded utilizing CARES dollars, so not city funds, but from the CARES dollars.
Perfect, thank you.
Member Luker.
No questions.
Member Schilling.
No questions.
All right, and again, a reminder that the CARES Act does not come out of our levy. We're not levying dollars for it, correct? All right, so we do need a motion to approve resolution 20-09-78, a resolution authorizing the purchase of computers for Wyoming city staff from CW Technology in the amount of $27,214. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Member Zerwas.
We have a motion to approve by Member Zerwas. Do we have a second?
Member Luger will second.
All right, Member Luker makes that second. Roll call, please. Member Yeager.
Aye.
Member Zerwas.
Aye.
Member Luker.
Aye.
Member Schilling.
Aye.
Mayor Iverson is aye. Number 16 on our agenda, to consider resolution 20-09-79, a resolution authorizing the direct purchase of chemical scales and transmitters from Hawkins Water Treatment Group in the amount of $24,081. Mr. Almchild, will you be taking this one?
Yes, Mayor Iverson. Mayor Iverson, City Council members. On the last council meeting, you approved the lift station upgrades, and that was the last thing on sanitary sewer. And now on our water side of SCADA, the only thing we have left there is the chemical usage at the 3 well houses. With the purchase of scales and transmitters, we can monitor all 3 wells for the amount of chemicals that are added daily. This would also allow us to be remote with our daily rounds. Labor costs will be reduced on a weekly basis by not having to drive to each well daily to take readings. We just look on our SCADA at the Public Works trailer. We only came to one quote, as we are retrofitting the current chlorine scales, which is just transmitters. Otherwise, the product is a proprietary product from Hawkins. They're the distributor. The quote was for $24,081 from the Hawkins Water Treatment Group. The products qualify for funding from the CARES Act. So our recommendation would be to purchase the chemical scales and transmitters from Hawkins in the amount of $24,081 to finish up our SCADA.
All right, Mr. Almjold, can you tell me, currently, is it humans that are doing the chemicals and stuff? Is it our maintenance workers?
Currently, every day, somebody comes in, checks all the wells and lift stations to make sure that, for like chemicals are added correctly, that all the water towers are full, the wells. But now we have everything on SCADA except the chemicals. And that'd be a really crucial part because we want to know how much chlorine, polyphosphate, and fluoride are added daily. And so that'd be a really crucial element of it.
Okay, so I'm going to ask this maybe to Mr. Erickson and Mr. Linwood if they haven't answered this question. So if we're taking out the human error on this, I'm assuming that, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going to assume that this is going to be a cost savings to the city because there's not going to be any human error on that, right? So we're going to know exactly how much we need to purchase?
Right, and Mr. Erickson, if you want to, but this is essentially it's a safety element. You're correct. It removes that potential for human error as they do that. But the scales are fairly unique in how they operate and able to make sure that we're providing those proper chemicals, Mr. Almjold said, and also reducing that labor costs on a weekly basis to go and actually to take those readings off of those other pumps where they will be able to utilize this. Why it's been tied to that CARES funding, not only is it provides efficiencies for the city, it also provides a safety measure in case of if we did have staff down due to the COVID pandemic, and hence why we're utilizing it through the CARES funds.
All right, perfect. Mark, do you have anything to add to that?
I know that term SCADA is used often, and I just wanted to just summarize what that is again. It's supervisory control and data acquisition. And so it's really, a remote way to track data and view how, performance of things. And so again, I know that the word SCADA is used. I just wanted to make sure you knew what the acronym was, but Rob answered the other part very well. Thank you.
All right, thank you for those answers. Member Yeager.
With the scale between the SCADA and now with the scales and transmitters, will it eliminate the employees having to drive to each lift station?
We already have that capability as soon as they finish the SCADA you approved last council meeting. But for the wells, yes, after the scales are installed, we'll probably reduce it from 5 days a week or 7 days a week to 2. Like do Monday and Friday, just for a visual check of everything.
Okay. And so this would free them up to do other duties around in the office, in the department.
Correct. Yep.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Member Zerwas.
No questions.
Member Luger.
I just wanted to clarify this. So this is, we can assume that this will be a savings to the city. Can we hear just a little bit about the economic impact of this to both our residents, in addition to the environmental impact for our city?
As far as economic, you would save labor it takes about 3 hours a day to drive to the wells and all the lift stations. And so you're going to loosen up maybe 3 hours a day, three days of the week. So that's about 9-10 hours. We should also on weekends be able to reduce people coming in on the weekends, which will be a big savings. Economically, with SCADA, you can see, like the mayor was referring to, the actual poundage used, the data's collected. So as you budget, doing your budgetary stuff, you can see how much chemicals you use per gallon of water that was produced, and to help for budgeting and stuff like that. Absolutely, for economic.
Thank you.
All right, and Member Schilling.
No questions.
All right, so I need a I need a motion to approve resolution 20-09-79, a resolution authorizing the direct purchase of chemical scales and transmitters from Hawkins Water Treatment Group in the amount of $24,081. Do we have a motion to approve?
Member Luger will make that motion.
Member Luger makes the first motion. Do we have a second?
Schilling will second.
We have a second by Member Schilling. Roll call, please. Member Yeager.
Aye.
Member Zerwas.
Aye.
Member Luger.
Aye.
Member Schilling.
Aye.
And Mayor Iverson is an aye. We move to 17 on our agenda to consider resolution 20-09-80, a resolution for a negative declaration of need for an environmental impact statement for Kettle River development. Mr. Erickson, will this be your presentation?
Yes, it will. Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. On your screen, if I've successfully shared my screen, you should be able to see a concept plan that we had received, sometime back from the Moxness development team for what they called at that time, the Kettle River development. Everybody see that concept plan that's on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you. The project that is before you consisted of 72 single-family homes and 76 townhomes. And so one of the preliminary comments that we provided the development team at that time is based on the size of the development, an environmental assessment worksheet would be required based on Minnesota Rule 4410.4300. And so we did work closely with the development team to prepare and finalize the EAW consistent with requirements. And the EAW is really, that process is really managed by the Environmental Quality Board, which are appointed positions. And so upon completion of the EAW, it was published in the EQB Monitor on July 13th and also made available on the city website on July 13th of 2020. And we did receive public comment from a number of agencies, the MPCA, MnDOT, the State Historic Preservation Office, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, and the Minnesota Center for Environmental Advocacy. And with the Minnesota Rule 4410.17 subpart 1, it states an EAS shall be, and an EIS is an environmental impact statement, shall be ordered that have the potential for significant projects that have the potential for significant environmental effects. And so the conclusion of the EAW was that an EIS is not required, that the reasonably expected impacts, the project does not have the potential for significant environmental effects. The project does not rise to the level that would typically require an EIS. And the EAW had identified areas where there is potential for environmental effects, but appropriate mitigation measures can be incorporated into the project plans, and that the required approval and permits are there that can mitigate these effects. So I just wanted to quick highlight that. Certainly, there's a lot to that document in the council packet. There's the actual EAW there is in the packet. And so if you had any detailed questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But we're at a stage now where we are recommending approval and of the decision of negative need for an EAS on the Kettle River development. So I'll stand for any questions that you have. The next steps really would be, if you are inclined to approve that resolution, we would take that signed resolution along with the document itself and resubmit that to the EQB, and that would be posted on September 28th to finalize that process. We have since just this week received the preliminary plat for what they now call Summer Fields, which is the development that's on the screen here. They felt very confident with the EAW that was prepared and wanted to proceed with the preliminary plat. And so we did just receive that here, and so the applicant is anxiously wanting to move forward with the development.
Okay, Mr. Erickson, thank you for the presentation. I'm wanting to be clear, this does not mean that the council as a body is approving this development at this time. It just means that we are approving an environmental impact statement. Is that correct? That it does not have any environmental impact?
That is correct. There are no approvals related to the project other than just the, the negative declaration for the need for an EAS.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. So we will go with Member Yeager. Any questions?
No, basically a negative declaration is just saying we don't need the EIS.
That is correct. And based on the findings of the EAW, that was our finding, that there is no need for an EIS.
And that any environmental impacts will be so small that it can be managed in through the normal processes of approval.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Member Zierwas,
No questions.
Member Luker,
So I do have a question, and I don't, I know that there's probably a really, probably a very in-depth answer to this, but I'm wondering, looking at page 108, in terms of the discussion of fish and wildlife, vegetation, and such. I mean, I guess I'm just wondering what the threshold is for determining whether there's a big enough impact on that. Because I mean, we obviously know that putting in a development is going to be necessarily disruptive to vegetation and wildlife on that particular part of the land. I'm wondering I guess I just wonder what the threshold is.
And I don't know that there is an actual threshold. I think each site is evaluated individually, but there are, threatened species that they look at to determine whether or not there's impacts. We always hear, I'm going to draw the blank on the turtle name.
Landing.
The Blandings turtle. Thank you very much. And they are in this area. So we look at, more on these type of things. We look at what can be done to mitigate the impacts of their habitat. And so obviously we're not working within the wetlands. There are not proposed any wetland impacts, but obviously there is upland that they utilize. And so, a lot of it is, related to construction practices and how we manage the construction site, and that, we use the type of materials that aren't going to entrap and entangle wildlife that might, cause, their death and things of that nature. And so it is a detailed analysis that goes through. They provided comments, we've responded to the comments, but again, not necessarily meeting that threshold. And I probably didn't go in enough depth that you're looking for there. Did I? Is that?
No, that's sufficient. No, and honestly, I mean, I'm curious because, we know developments have an impact. And so I guess I'm satisfied with that answer, just as long as we know that, that there's a mitigation strategy and that nothing is, going to be overwhelmingly disrupted.
And there are a lot of guidelines there that are there for our use as far as mitigation guidelines, and they've been provided, and we have those readily available, and really have become part of our normal repertoire with all of our developments, whether an EAW is required or not.
Thank you.
all right, and Member Schilling.
I have no questions.
All right, then we need a motion to approve Resolution 20-09-80, a resolution for the negative declaration of need for an environmental impact statement for Kettle River development.
Member Luger will make that motion.
Member Luger makes the first motion. Do we have a second?
Member Schilling will second.
Member Schilling makes the second. Roll call, please. Member Yeager.
Aye.
Member Zierwas.
Aye.
Member Luger.
Aye.
Member Schilling.
Aye.
Mayor Iverson is an aye. Number 18, to consider Resolution 20-09-81, a resolution approving the purchase of Rescue 80 coat and pant PPE from Municipal Emergency Services in the amount of $21,000. Chief Hoppy, are you taking this one?
I am, Madam Mayor. I think Marky's still sharing your screen up there.
Well, my apologies.
It's okay, no problem. Madam Mayor and the council, we have a proposal in front of you to replace our medical jumpsuits with a little bit more durable PPE for our fire department. We implemented the jumpsuit policy in 2012, which required our firefighters to wear department issued jumpsuits rather than going to medicals in just their street clothes. The theory behind that is, with the bloodborne pathogen potential exposures, when the employees come in their street clothes and they end up going to medicals and they go back to whatever their previous activity was at work, at home, at play, with potential biohazards on their personal clothing. We purchased that stuff originally around 2012. So we've had it for a good 7 or 8 years, and we're kind of due for replacement. But with the COVID exposure this year, we see just a bigger liability. And so we want to look at this as an opportunity to basically increase the protection potential to our employees by providing them with a little bit more durable PPE, not only for when they're going to medicals, but it also allows them to use these devices in rescue calls and extrications rather than using their full turnout gear. So the equipment that we're looking to provide here provides our employees with better PPE protection than the cloth polyester jumpsuits they currently have, but it isn't at the same level as a full structured fire gear, which means it's not rated to go inside of structured fires. So it kind of, we're accomplishing basically 2 tasks here. The items were not budgeted for in 2020, but we do have an opportunity to bridge this with part of the CARES Act funding, and the total cost for the pants and the jackets is $20,940. We do have another proposal. We can add it on today or bring it back next week, and that's also looking at the footwear as well. That will be about another $99,536.70 if we add the footwear to it as well. We can bring that back later or address both of them. They would also qualify under the CARES funding. But for now, the proposal is for the jackets and the pants for our firefighters to help protect them against some of the biohazards that they come across. They are part of the public safety, which is our highest risk employees for biohazard exposures and bloodborne pathogens, and of obvious concern in today's world.
Okay, thank you. I know Chief Hoppy, my personal feeling is this: we've always been transparent on this council, and I think this is something, the second part that you're requesting, I'd really like to put this on the agenda to make sure that we consider that we stay with our transparency. So that's my personal preference, is that we're able to do that. Council members can decide as well. We'll do that as majority. I would like to say this though, and I'm sure that Member Luger is going to agree with me on this. Her and I both scheduled time a few years ago to run into that burning building and have on all of that equipment when the fire department was training. I am extremely happy that this is going to be lighter for them in terms of medical calls and all that kind of stuff. So I think this is a good call, and it will keep them much safer having this. So I believe Councilmember Luger remembers that experience well.
Vividly.
It's kind of scary, right? All right, so questions, Member Yeager.
What is the lifespan on these upgraded jumpsuits?
So when we look at our regular turnout gear, they have a 10-year lifespan on them because of the structural integrity of the gear, because it is structural turnout gear. And so the exposure is much greater to our employees when going into fire. So they have kind of a lifespan on those. This gear doesn't fall under that same classification. So we expect the life expectancy of these to be much greater than that 10-year mark. And a lot of it's just really going to depend on the usage and what kind of abuse they take, not only in the medicals, but as they do rescues and extrication and stuff as well. The benefit is that because of it's one step above the standard jumpsuits that we have, it reduces our wear and tear on that structural gear. And so there's a lot of benefits to going to this. But as far as what is our life expectancy, it's not NFPA rated as far as structured fire. Therefore, we don't have an NFPA requirement to follow that because we're not sending them internal on structured fires.
Okay, but still, it's you anticipate greater than 10 years for this?
I would anticipate that this would last greater than 10 years under normal use.
Okay. And how long does the foot, like, what kind of footwear are you talking about, and how long does it last?
Footwear is similar, we'll bring that back, if it doesn't get included on this, but the footwear is pretty much identical to what we wear to inside structure fires. And some of the last minute conversations that happened around that is because the boot wear that we use for structure fires is integrated in the pants for a quick response. We looked at how do we manage that as well. They would have to basically disassemble their lower turnout gear to get their boots in order to wear them like this. And it's not something that we think would be appropriate because it would increase the response time. So we're looking at essentially the same type of a boot that we'd wear internal for structure. So it provides not only waterproof insulation, steel toe, and those other protective, and they're rubber, so they're not absorbent. But we can bring that back later if the council's not comfortable including it with this proposal.
Well, if it's also funded by CARES Act funds, and we have sufficient funds, I have no problem with it.
That is correct. That is correct. It would be part of the CARES Funding Act. We're kind of including it last minute because of the lead time to order and requirements to take possession. So, that's kind of why I'm throwing it in here last minute, just to make sure that if we do proceed with them, we do have time between order and receive that fits within those deadlines of the CARES Act. So
Okay.
I'm just throwing that in there as an option, not to alleviate from any transparency or anything, but simply out of necessity to take possession. But yes, they do qualify as part of the PPE requirement, or PPE equipment, just would be separate of our turnout gear.
Okay, thank you.
Member Zerwas.
I have no other questions on that particular subject other than the fact that I believe I'd be in favor of the boots right away also.
Okay. Thank you. Member Luker.
So I just have two really quick questions. I like the idea of, obviously, of increased safety for our employees. I'm wondering if there is a separate industry standard for PPE for medical calls for fire departments. And if this, I'm assuming this, if there is such an industry standard that this particular, what we'd be purchasing meets that.
Yeah, certainly when we look at, PPE, it's law enforcement, police, any place that we have biohazard and bloodborne pathogen exposure. We're looking for materials that are non-absorbent as much as possible. And I'm looking, I think this one was less than 5% liquid absorbent after multiple reuses and washes, which is a low absorption rate. And that's really what we're looking for is we're trying to protect the skin exposure from, bloodborne pathogen exposure, meaning absorbed through the material. So it provides us a lot more protection than, say, standard cotton or polyester would, as far as liquid absorption and then transfer from the outer shell through the inner shell to the skin. I did talk to a couple other agencies, one being Forest Lake, who have also looked at this and are ordering very similar for the same reason and purpose, is to provide that extra PPE protection to the employees.
Okay, thank you. And then I just had one more question. I'm just curious in terms of the response time and kind of the time that it takes to compared to the turnout gear for fire. I would assume that because this is because it's lighter weight and it's more flexible, that the amount of time it takes to actually gear up in this is an asset to our employees because it takes less time and cuts down on kind of that wait time. Is that accurate?
I think if we look at the time it takes them to get into a jumpsuit compared to getting into this, it's probably equal amount of time. But compared to getting into a full set of turnout gear, a little heavier, a little bit more cumbersome to get into than maybe a lightweight pair of trousers, or, and a lightweight turnout jacket is significantly different, I think, than doing the full turnout gear, where you're looking for a completely different set of standards as far as protection with the heavy gloves, the helmet, the mask, the jacket, the pants, and all of that is kind of incorporated into one set on their turnout rack, so that when they come in, they're looking to assemble all of that. Where in this case, some of those, like the heavy gloves, aren't used. We use rubber gloves that are in the trucks. We don't use the Kevlar masks per se, as far as in medicals and stuff. So certainly a lot faster than putting full turnout gear, but equivalent to what they currently do with their jumpsuits.
Awesome. Thank you. What a great.
That's why that's getting me.
All right, Member Schilling.
Really didn't have any questions. I'm actually in favor of adding the boots on here just because this is done on our CARES Act, and I think it's a good idea for us to go in this direction.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a majority that would like to put it on, the boots on for this resolution. Mr. Lunan, my question is this: is there anything specific we need to do to make sure that what did you say it was, Chief Hoppy,
$9,536.70. So we could amend it to be 30,600, and that would be sufficient.
Mr. Lunan, is there anything that we need to make sure, though, that we amend this resolution or add to this resolution, so we make sure we are completely transparent with the CARES Act money and with our residents knowing what we're doing?
As long as the findings within the resolution discussing that the need for the money is related to the COVID-19 pandemic, which is already a part of the resolution, and I believe, as Chief Hoppy has said, that would remain true with the increased dollar amount, we can submit it under the CARES Act as an expense related to the pandemic.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve Resolution 20-09-01, a resolution approving the purchase of Rescue 8 coat, pant, PPE, and boots from Medical Emergency Services in the amount of $30,600 through the CARES Act. Does that sound correct?
Yes.
Looking for a shake of the head. Okay, so we need a motion to approve.
So moved, Member Zerwas.
All right, Member Zeros makes the first motion. Member Schilling, you make the second?
Yes.
Member Schilling makes the second. All right, Member Yeager.
Aye.
Member Zeros.
Aye.
Member Luker.
Aye.
Member Schilling.
Aye.
And Mayor Iverson is an aye. I always think it's fantastic we take care of our firefighters. So important to our city. All right,
Appreciate
number
the support.
19. What was that? Did I hear? No.
We appreciate the support for public safety tonight.
Number 19, to consider Resolution 20-09-82, a resolution authorizing the disposal of unclaimed bikes as a donation to the Forest Lake School District Outdoor Education Program. Chief Hoppy, you're doing this one as well?
I am doing this one as well. So we received a request from the Forest Lake area community schools and one of their instructors for an outdoor program that they're looking for bicycles as part of their education program. Every year we take in a fleet of bicycles through the course of the year that's in our impound lot until eventually we auction them off as unclaimed property. And we really don't get much money for them at all. It's more of a burden, more burdensome to store them and auction them than anything. And so the school and one of the teachers provided us with a request, rather than us auctioning those off, that we donate them to the school for this outdoor education program. How they use them specifically, I'm not quite sure. I'm assuming for exercise and getting them out in the community riding bicycles. But as part of our normal procedures for getting rid of the bikes, we usually take and hold them for at least 90 days per policy before we even think about auctioning off. We would follow those same procedures relative to holding them for the 90 days on found property. Once they hit that 90 days, then rather than auctioning, we would offer them up to the Forest Lake School as part of their outdoor education program, and then they would retrieve them and go from there. So not only would this apply to the half dozen that we have in there, but I'd like to include it as part of the process of getting rid of the unclaimed property that we often come across. I think it's a really good partnership and our ability to kind of give back to the educational system as well.
All right, I'm in total agreement for this. I think we do have a great partnership with the Forest Lake School District, our elementary school. There's so many kids that maybe can't afford a bike or be able to ride a bike. So I think this is amazing that we're able to do this. Any further questions, Member Yeager?
I really think this is a nice thing to do. Does anybody clean up and repair the bikes as necessary?
We do not. We simply just don't have in our budget to do the maintenance and repair on these. Some are in pretty good condition when we get them. You know, frequently I think what happens is they get stolen from who knows where, and then once the rider is done with them, they just dump them wherever, and that's usually how we end up with them. But we don't do any repairs on them. We don't have the budget for them. When we auction, we simply auction them in the condition that they're at. And this would be similar. So any repairs that would come would be the responsibility of the school district, not us.
Okay, thank you.
Member Ziros, any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. I think it's a great program. I'm 100% in favor of turning the bikes over to the schools.
Member Luker?
I have no questions. I think this is a great idea.
Member Schilling?
I have no questions either, and I also feel this is a very good idea.
Great. So we need a motion to approve Resolution 20-09-82, a resolution authorizing the disposal of unclaimed bikes as a donation to the Forest Lake School District Outdoor Education Program. Do we have a motion to approve?
Member Schilling makes that motion.
It's such a great program. Like, everybody's willing to do that. All right, so let's go Member Schilling as the first motion. Let's do Member Ziros as the second motion. I believe that's what I heard.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Awesome. All right, that's what I thought I heard. All right, roll call, please. Member Yeager.
Aye.
Member Ziros.
Aye.
Member Luker.
Aye.
Member Schilling.
Aye.
And Mayor Iverson is an aye. I'm very excited that we're able to do this. Paul, does that get to them right away?
Yes, I'll notify the teacher in the morning, and I'm sure they'll have them by week's end. So we'll be happy to get them out of our impound lot, and they'll be happy to get them in the community. So
that's great.
Benefits.
I'm sure you'll do some great photo ops on that as well, because I think it's pretty great. So, all right, we will do council reports, and then I'm actually going to ask Chief Huppy, Mr. Linwood, and Mr. Erickson for a report when we're done with our council statement. So just putting you up there, unless Mr. Wack, you would like to have something to report as well? Okay, sounds good. All right, so we are going to start with Member Yeager.
Oh, I attended the last week's special meeting, and thank you all for watching.
Member Ziros.
I also attended the September 9th special council meeting, and that's all I have.
Member Schilling.
I also attended the September 9th special meeting, and I'd like to thank everybody for watching.
Member Luker.
I also attended the special meeting. I also attended the Park Advisory Commission meeting last night, where a number of things were discussed, including a memorial at Lions Park. The Park Advisory Commission also got a presentation from the Forest Lake Watershed District. And then there was an update about the tree board. And that's all I have. Thank you for watching.
All right, and I attended the Park Advisory Commission. I attended the EDA meeting. They were both on the same night. Thankfully, one was 6 and one was at 7. There was the Planning Commission. However, we did not have a quorum that night. I attended the special meeting, and I also attended a meeting up at City Hall as well with some potential new what do I want to say? Just some potential new things coming to the city, maybe. So I attended that meeting as well. Grateful that I'm able to do that kind of stuff. All right, so let's start with Mr. Erickson because he's muted and we'll just make it complicated. Can you give an update, please, on the Kettle River project or that neighborhood over there? I'm going to tell you right now, I have driven down there and the curb and gutter and the asphalt and the beautiful trees turning color, and it's like you're on Mayberry. It is so incredibly beautiful.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. The project is going very well. It is very transformational. The roadways and condition were so poor previously that it's pretty easy to make it look nice. So the roadway project is going well. If you recall, there's a southern area called Area 1. 263rd Street is Area 2. Both of those areas have received the concrete curb and gutter and asphalt. They're currently working on the boulevard areas and preparing the asphalt driveways for pavement. And Area 3, the northern area, they're working on preparing that for concrete curb and gutter, which should be taking place here, I'd say, within the next week. And so we're really making great progress. We've had a really good stretch of weather. Things are really coming together and looking really nice. And we've got a lot of really positive feedback from property owners out there as well.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you. I think from the sounds of it, from the residents I'm hearing from, they're all very excited about it. So good job on that. All right. I'm not sure who's going to answer this next, Chief Hoppy or Mr. Linwood. I think there is a event coming on Saturday, which we cannot touch. And I also understand that our wonderful fireworks are going to be taking place. So any type of update on either one of those events, now is the time to really get it out there in the public because it's pretty exciting.
You want me to take that, Rob?
Chief, do you want to talk? Sure, if you want to start with the touch truck, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So staff got together and Kelly actually came up with a great idea relative to the fact that we couldn't have a touch-a-truck and we couldn't really do a traditional parade with a bunch of walkers. So we got together and we created the Don't Touch a Truck event. And Kelly was really good to kind of give us some examples of that. So what we're actually doing is having a parade that does not include walkers. It's only trucks, similar to what you would normally see at our touch truck event. And it'll go through not only our traditional parade route, but we actually extended it because we don't have walkers. We can actually move the parade a little faster and let the kids in the neighborhoods and hit more roads and more people's residents, and the kids stay there and they get an opportunity to see all these fire trucks and garbage trucks and graders and payloaders and everything else under the sun come through their neighborhoods and honk their horns and wave at the kids, all from the confinement of their trucks, and individuals, from the confinement of their own property, their family core. So we thought it would just be a really good opportunity for us to do it on Stagecoach Saturday. So this is upcoming Saturdays, normally our Stagecoach days, and we wanted to have a bit of normalcy in the city. And so this was our way of saying, we started the parade a couple years ago. We don't want to lose that momentum. And we always see so many kids coming out for our touch truck event that we wanted to be able to provide that similar experience for them as well. And so with some creative thinking, we have the Stagecoach Days Don't Touch a Truck Parade on Saturday at noon. And the route is posted on our Facebook page, the city website, the city's Facebook page. So we're hoping to see everybody out there around noon to see this parade of large and small vehicles traveling through our neighborhoods.
Very excited for that. That's very cool. Good job thinking outside the box, everybody. I think that's amazing.
I have a question, Madam Mayor.
Yes, Member Yeager.
On the parade route,
Yes, ma'am.
is it just going to be the posted parade route, or are you going to go through more streets?
It's just going to be the posted parade route. So it'll start on Frontier Avenue and go over East Viking, the railroad down the Felton, and then follow that road kind of across over to around the Ashton Lake and Glen Oak and area, and then back over to where it started. So the route is actually about 3 times longer than what our normal route is. And we thought that would be a pretty good exposure for the trucks and participation.
All right, so then do you anticipate that people are going to come from other parts of town and sit on the curb or at the, in some cases, the grass of the houses on the parade route?
I would assume that if people wanted to watch it, they would probably reach out to people along that parade route as far as part of their family core and share that opportunity and still be have some separation and be MDH compliant as the trucks drive by.
Okay, because yeah, because I was thinking, what happens if like there's a kid that lives way out in the country, or a kid that lives in Sunrise Estates or Bridgewater, where the parade's not getting to? They would have to hope that they know somebody on the parade route, or can they just come and sit and watch the parade?
Well, MDH is pretty specific about family core and gatherings, and I would hope that people would try to follow those recommendations as closely as possible. Obviously, we're not going to be policing it, just to make sure everybody's part of their family core. But we certainly are trying to do the best that we can to provide as much as we can. But unfortunately, we can't hit every street in the community, out in the country, and everything else. So, if people do know friends and family on the route and want to participate and ask to join their family core and be compliant with MDH recommendations, and we certainly encourage that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and Mr. Linwood, the fireworks update?
Sure. I think Ms. Dumas has given the council quite a bit of information in regards to how the fireworks will go. Public Works will be painting circles at Goodview this Thursday. That'll be 50 circles that are approximately 12 feet in diameter and 6 feet apart. And we'll have police reserves there that evening when the fireworks start. The fireworks do start at 9 o'clock. We anticipate that we'll have our normal people watching from households and potentially on street and on the cars, but it should be fun, and we always have fantastic fireworks. So at least I think that's something we all agree on. So it should be a nice day.
I received a letter in the mail from a resident. It was nice to get something in the mail, actually. So thank you for keeping the fireworks display and how important that is to the tradition of the city of Wyoming and Stagecoach Days. So again, good job on that. So I think we have everybody. I'm kind of looking around. I think we're good. So with that, if Mr. or if Member Zeros would like to make a motion to adjourn.
I sure would. Move to adjourn.
Awesome. And do we have a second?
Member Schilling, second.
Awesome. Mr. Schilling does it, or Member Schilling does a second. And we're just going to do an all in favor on this, right, Mr. Lunan? I'm okay to do that. All right. With a show of hands and a big smile on our face, everyone who wishes to adjourn, say aye.
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 Anybody who would wish to continue with the meeting, please say nay. With that, I believe we are adjourned. Thank you. Thank you very much, and have a safe week. We'll see everybody on Saturday.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good night, everybody.
Right.
Good night.
Goodbye. Good night.